Definition of hearsay. We may understand this hearsay as if a person would come to court to repeat whatever he heard from another person, that would be hearsay. That understanding is not wrong. It is a correct understanding, but nonetheless, that is not a complete understanding. Now, since we are discussing the definition of hearsay, we need to have a full understanding of this as to what we mean by hearsay. If you read this definition of this hearsay first of all, and then you would encounter this term that is called declarant. A declarant is just a person who make a statement. So if a person makes a statement, that person is called declarant. So that should be easy to understand. So what is a hearsay? This is important. Hearsay, first of all, is an out-of-court statement. If a person is not testifying in court, and then if a person made a statement in a setting out of the court room, so we say if a person made an out-of-court statement, and then if this statement is offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted, and then it is a hearsay. So we know in this definition we have maybe two parts we need to pay attention to. The first one is that is out-of-court statement. The second one is this out-of-court statement is offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. If both of these two parts are true, and then we know that is hearsay. Okay, so it is important for us to understand hearsay. One is an out-of-court statement. Two, this statement is offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. It is important you pay attention to this to prove the truth of the matter asserted. Out-of-court statement is easy for us to understand. If a statement is made not during a person is testifying in court, that is an out-of-court statement. But it is important for us to know not all out-of-court statement would be hearsay. Out-of-court statement is hearsay only when this statement is offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted, and then that statement would be hearsay. So pay attention to this word truth. If a statement is not offered for its truth, and then the testimony about the statement is not hearsay. But if an out-of-court statement is offered to prove the truth asserted in the statement, then that testimony will be hearsay. So pay attention to this word, whether this testimony of the statement is offered to prove the truth of the statement, truth of the matter asserted. Let's look at two examples. I think this point should be clear. In the first example, Adams is on trial for burglary. Bill claims that he saw Adam break into a neighbor's house. But Bill would not come to court to testify. He asks Sam to come to court to testify. Sam is to testify. Bill told me he saw Adam break into a neighbor's house. We know this Bill told Sam, made this statement to Sam in an out-of-court setting. So Bill's statement is an out-of-court statement. And then we know this satisfies the first part of the definition. We have this out-of-court statement. And then we need to examine whether this statement is offered for the truth asserted in the statement. Of course, we know it is offered. We know this statement is offered for its truth because Adam is on trial for burglary. what we have in this Bill's statement, Bill says he saw Adam break into the neighbor's house. So we know this evidence is offered for its truth. This evidence is offered to prove Adam indeed committed this burglary. So this Sam's testimony about this Bill's statement is hearsay because it falls within the definition of hearsay. We have an out-of-court statement, and this statement is offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted in the statement. What is the truth asserted? That is Adam broke into this neighbor's house to commit this burglary. So we know in this example, this statement falls within the definition of hearsay. So it is 100% hearsay. But let's look at the second example. In the second example, Adam is in a theater watching a movie, and he suddenly stood up and yelled, "Fire! Fire! The theater is on fire!" But of course, there was no fire, and his yelling caused a panic in the theater. Of course, you cannot really do that in a movie theater, and then because of this Adam's behavior, and he is charged with this offense of disorderly conduct. The prosecution asks Nancy to come to court to testify. Nancy in the theater was just sitting next to Adam. So when Adam stood up, yelled, "There's a fire and a fire," Nancy heard that very clearly. So Nancy is going to testify. She heard Adam yell, "Fire, fire, the theater is on fire." All right? So we know Adam here made a statement that is an out-of-court statement because he made this statement, "Fire, fire, the theater is on fire," in a theater. So of course we know that was an out-of-court statement. Nancy, of course, is going to testify, is going to come to court to testify about an out-of-court statement she heard. So would Nancy's testimony about Adam's statement a hearsay? No. The answer is no. Why Nancy's testimony about this Adam's out-of-court statement is not hearsay? Because Nancy's testimony about the statement about what she heard from Adam is not offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted in the statement. What we have in the statement, Adam said, "Fire, fire, the theater is on fire." We ask Nancy to testify about this statement. Is that because we want to prove the theater was on fire? No, there was no fire in the theater. If indeed there was a fire in the theater, and then Adam would not be committing this crime of this disorderly conduct, and he would be a hero. So of course, the reason why we ask Nancy to testify, it was not we want to prove whatever stated in the statement is true. What the purpose of we offering this statement is simply to show Adam made this statement, simply to show this statement was made. By making this statement, Adam actually committed this offense of public disorderly conduct, right? So we know it is very important for us to know, and then whether a statement, whether a testimony above an out-of-court statement is hearsay or not, the key analysis we have to make is whether this statement is offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted in the statement. If this statement is offered for its truth, and then it is hearsay, like in the first example. And if the testimony is, if this out-of-court statement is offered to prove actually the defendant committed this burglary, we know that out-of-court statement is offered for its truth. So that is going to be hearsay. But in this theater on fire example, this statement is not offered to prove its truth. The statement is offered simply to show it was made. So if an out-of-court, so once again, we need to emphasize this. It is not whenever someone would come to court to testify about an out-of-court statement that is going to be hearsay. It is not whenever someone is going to repeat in court an out-of-court statement that is going to be hearsay. That is not the case. An out-of-court statement is going to be hearsay only when the statement is offered to prove the truth asserted in the statement. It is very important for you to pay attention to the word of truth. If the statement is not offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted, and then the testimony is not going to be hearsay, just like this Nancy's testimony. And if she would testify about Alan's statement about this fire in the theater, of course, this is not going to be hearsay. Nancy can 100% testify in this case because her testimony would not be within the definition of hearsay.